Hey, that was a picture of us. I never saw that picture. I want that picture.
I saw it in the advertisement and I was really excited because that was from our talk from last year.
Yeah, I'm like, I want that picture.
Yeah, I love it. It's awesome. So, well, hi, Chris, and hello, everyone.
I
So
know this is a
excited
different
to.
time for me. I'm always like first thing in the morning with Liz, half waking up, chugging green tea, sleepy.
I always forget for you that it's like 9 a.m. typically your time.
No, for sure. And then I always want to tell y'all, it's like I was talking to somebody at this time. I think I had to meet up with Liz or someone, and she's like, "You're so much more energetic." I'm like, "Yeah, you get me at the all of our meetings and live streams and stuff are at like the start of my day." I'm like, I have way more energy in the afternoon, so
And I
I
feel
was
like you have
excited
way
to
more
be part
energy
of it.
probably than me now because it's 7 for me. And I feel like I'm at the end. That's literally, I made my desk stand up because I felt like I was going to fall asleep. So I was like, need to get up here. So
Yeah, well, it's good to see you. I know we're going to be joined by others. Why don't you kind of tell everybody about it?
yes, and welcome to folks who are already in the chat with us. I see Nathan and Dorina and Grace and Amy. So hi, everyone. And we are going to be doing a little bit of a conference preview tonight. We are going to be joined, I think, by some of our other lead and national advocates in just a little bit. But Chris and I and hopefully some others will be sharing with you a little bit about our past conference experiences and also all of the things that we're excited about for this upcoming conference in just a couple weeks. But before we dive in, always want to note that this live stream is educational and is not intended to replace therapy. For treatment-related questions, please work with your provider or contact a local clinician. You can use the IOCDF's online resource directory at iocdf.org/findhelp to locate a trained clinician near you. The International OCD Foundation is not a crisis hotline. If you are in a crisis or if you're ever feeling suicidal or unsafe, please call the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline by dialing 988. You can also access online at www.988lifeline.org or go to your local emergency room or call 911. And finally, we want to create a safe space. We want to be kind. We want to be respectful to absolutely everyone, because at the end of the day, we're here to support one another. So just a note that this is being broadcast on several social media platforms. It's being recorded. We just ask that you're kind to one another as you comment in the chat. This is the community and just an awesome space. So we want to hear from you also. And as we jump in, I'd love for folks to go ahead and start putting in the chat. Have you been to the conference before? What has that experience been like? What are you looking forward to? And Chris, we can kind of share since it's just us, but I'm actually curious because I have no idea for you what your first conference was, what that experience was like, all of the things.
Yeah, no, my first conference was when I was at the height of my OCD. I was in a really, really tough place. And I think I had just started, we had just found like an OCD therapist for me, and started working on treatment. And my mom had actually found the conference the year before when I was at my worst, like not even having a therapist yet. And she went to the conference by herself. And she always tells me, she's like, there weren't a lot of people with OCD speaking. There wasn't a lot of hope conversations. Like it was, for her, it was pretty kind of like just unhopeful, right? Like there wasn't, she didn't leave like sad. She was glad she got a little information. But I think what she learned there helped me find like a good provider after a year and a half of getting really bad OCD treatment. I don't even call it OCD treatment, but I went and I had planned on being there for 2 days, and I had family in the area and I was going to stay there. And then unfortunately, my OCD was just so bad, but I was there a day, and I always remember two people. I remember that's when I first saw Liz, and Liz did a talk with her family, and she was sharing like recovery, and that, Liz and I are around the same age. And I remember her being like, okay, here's somebody around my age, like she's doing incredible things. And it gave me hope. And then there was a girl, I don't remember her name, but she was sitting next to me and kind of made small talk with me. And she had gone through treatment and was doing really well. And so it kind of jump started my recovery. And when I went back to therapy, I felt great. And then literally the next conference I went to was I spoke. I did a solo talk when solo talks weren't really a thing, about my recovery with OCD and BDD. They didn't have a lot of BDD stuff. And then the following year, my mom and I were keynotes. So my first 3 years were pretty incredible. The first one was being so sick I couldn't stay the whole weekend. We actually left after a day. The second one I come back and I speak, and then the one after that I'm keynote. So just have a love for the conference. It's incredible. What about for you? What was your conference like, your first one?
Yeah, and I've been reflecting on this a lot over the last week. Some folks know where Ethan and I are going through a move right now, so I've been kind of pulling everything out of the closets of life, and I keep finding all of my old conference tote bags, which I love
I keep
saving.
all of them. I
I
think I'm at the
literally have
top.
like 3 that I can see in the corner.
I have like 12 and I have like 100 walk t-shirts. So like when I work out and I'm in pajamas or running to the store, I have my OCD walk t-shirts and then I have all my bags. And it's like people always ask me about OCD because I'm like walking advertisement.
I am so much that so I'm usually always wearing an IOCDF sweatshirt and the walk, I guess it was 2 or 3 years ago that we hosted it kind of hi Erica, great to see you. That we hosted it down near where I live and I did all of the t-shirts and I ended up with like 40 extra t-shirts that I still continually wear everywhere I go. So I think people in my neighborhood think the only thing I have to wear is like the OCD walk shirt. But in terms of conference, and I'm excited to start seeing folks are starting to plug in here too. But the first conference I went to was in DC. What year was that?
Oh geez, I just remember it being so hot. That was my first time I've ever been in humidity. So my only memory is horrible humidity. That had to be like 2000. Well, have we been in DC once or twice?
I think twice, and I came the most recent time.
Oh, okay. Because the fun fact, the first DC time we are there, that's when I was in the lobby with a bunch of other young adults, and we didn't go to any talks on Saturday because there was nothing for our age group. And that was where, in the lobby of the DC conference, the first one, that's where I was like, I'm going to go to the IOCF and say they should start to have talks for 18 to 29-year-olds for young adults. So the lobby and being miserable of humidity was where that idea came from. But the most recent one, I think, was like 2016 maybe? Oh,
That's
2018, Erica
Thank you,
said.
Grace. Yeah, I love that people know better than we do.
Or
Thank
Grace
you.
and Erica, yeah. They've all
Yes.
blurred over the years.
Well, so that for me, I mean, 2018, 2019, I was still incredibly sick. I was just really starting ERP and was really struggling. And my therapist at the time, Shala Nicely, encouraged me to go to the conference. And I was terrified to meet anybody with OCD, for anybody to know that I had OCD. I was working in a really public role in religious and spiritual life at a school, and it was what will people think? I mean, that's still very much the place that I was. And the argument that was made to me, which was a really good one, was I was doing an Ironman the weekend right before the conference, and I had to get back down to Atlanta from New York, and I was going to have to go through Baltimore and DC. I was planning on stopping there anyway because that's where my parents lived, in Baltimore. And I was told, like, it would be really dumb for you not to just at least go over and see this whole thing. So I actually got a 1-day pass. I went and I was terrified. I didn't want anyone to take my picture. I didn't want anyone to know that I was there. I was really scared to talk to anyone. And I remember very much feeling seen, but also just being so still nervous at that point. So I think the first real conference experience that I had was then the following year in Austin, Texas, where I actually went to a support group for the very first time and started to open up about harm OCD and POCD and false memory OCD and all of the things that I had so much shame around. And for folks who are maybe going for the first time this year and who are nervous about what it means to connect with people, I want you to hear it was the first time in my life that I really felt seen and that I felt like I was able to connect with others in person. And I remember going back to my room and just taking this deep breath, being like, okay, like it's going to be okay. And treatment really can work. These other people are in this with me. It really is possible. And it actually was kind of the turning point to me actually leaning in the midst of ERP, was connecting with others at the conference and going home and being like, I'm going to freaking do this thing. So I think it's actually really impactful for me to think about. But at the time for me, I was walking down the street to eat meals because I was so afraid that I was going to accidentally harm someone. I was in my room half the time trying not to call the police on myself for crimes I hadn't committed. I mean, all the things. But there was this big turning point of just being in a group and recognizing, like, whoa, I'm not the only one.
Yeah, no, I mean that's like my first conference was so hard too, just like for the reasons that you said. It's like, and I see that for a lot of people, and I think a lot of times people are like, "Well, I can't go to the conference because I'm still struggling." Most of us there are still struggling. There's definitely those of us that have, in recovery and stuff. But when I first would go, yeah, I mean, my first conference, even the keynote was tough. I remember, even when I was doing the keynote, I was still in a really, really good place, but I wasn't cured, and I was pretty honest about that. But no, the first time I went, when I first met Liz, same thing. Like you were, I was worried about so many things. So many subtypes were kind of blurred at that point. There was harming people, there was being harmed, there was contamination, there's all these things. So I always tell people, because I get a lot of emails before the conference from people in the West Coast that are like, "Hey, this conference is really far. It's on the other side of the planet. Like, is it worth it? My kid's really struggling." I'm like, even if he has like one or two like major victories or meets one or two people in recovery or hears a recovery story, I think people forget, like, people with OCD sharing their recovery stories. That conference wasn't like that in the beginning, or at least when I would go, it was much more clinician focused, and now it's a balance. So I think people will go and hear stuff. And there was a comment somebody had said earlier. I think it was Jen saying, like, "I wish I have been or could go." Pricing, because it is travel and stuff. Always remember, everyone, this is the first year the IOCDF is offering a virtual option. So you can, from the comfort of your own home, watch some of the talks being done live. And that will allow you to still experience the conference, but in a virtual capacity. So I hope people who are around the world that can't make it out to Orlando take advantage of that. So I think that'll be
I was
great.
going to say, I'm so glad you brought that up, because it's such a cool opportunity to have for the first time this year. And I know Ethan just popped on, and it looks like Val's popping on too. So we are gaining our crew. But before I have to mention, as we're talking about these first couple conferences, I remember in Austin seeing all of you from a distance and being like, wow, I can't imagine sharing my story or advocating. I can't imagine getting better. And I want folks who are in that same place now to know that wherever you are, you can go, you can share with another person, you can connect. I do also remember seeing Ethan speak for the first time, and he was doing a talk on humor. And I actually do remember thinking he wasn't very funny, but
They're like, "I wonder why." You're like thinking, like, "Why did they put this guy in the humor talk? It's not funny at all."
so anyway. Well, Ethan, I know you and Val just jumped on. Ethan, do you want to tell us?
I was just about to jump off. I know, it's not funny. It's not funny. What?
What was your first conference?
First conference was 2010 in DC. It was, I think that was Chris and Liz's keynote year.
No, my mom. We were 2011 in San Diego.
Okay. My first conference was 2010. It was an exposure forced upon me by my therapists. I was in the middle of intensive treatment. This was before I was in residential, and I was scared to travel alone without my parents. And I got on a plane, and they forced me to go to DC to the conference, because they told me if I went, I could talk to Dr. Janicki and ask him any question I wanted. And so I went, and this was before the room brigade and before all the things. So I went, and I was in my room most of the time. At that time, they had the glasses there had these really thick lead bottoms, and I was afraid I was going to accidentally bash my head in. So I would drink like out of the even they had the coolers in the conference rooms, and I would like drink like this, so I wouldn't have to pick up a glass. But anyway, yeah, I wasn't my favorite experience. I did get to ask Dr. Janicki my question, which was, how do I know the difference between OCD or psychotic? And he said, "You're psychotic." And then I went back to bed. But my first conference post, I missed 2011 because I was in Boston going through my whole thing with recovery. And then I presented at the very next conference in 2012, and I've been to every conference since. So, but yeah, it's amazing, and I wouldn't miss it. It is literally a part of my ongoing life schedule. So.
It's such a big part for so many of us, I know, throughout our entire year. And I see so many folks, Erica and Amy, and so many people just talking
Hi,
about
Max. I love Max.
Yeah, Max. the sensory room. I mean, just so many things. And we're going to talk about some of those tonight. I'll also say, I see Summer, we're so glad you're here. And even if this is a tough time at the moment, that's why we want to be here, right? We want to be here in community, and we can't wait to see you also. So we're going to dive in just a second to what's coming up at the conference. But Val, I want to hear from you about your first conference experience.
Oh, my first, and excuse me, guys, it is like 1:10 here. So y'all get the bad hair, no makeup Valerie today.
You look like you're in heaven, girl.
California, Val.
Like
I'm
you're
like
just radiant and white.
I was going to say, you look beautiful.
You look like you're in a studio.
Yeah, anyhow, my first conference was in 2017. And I'm in Northern California, so it was the San Francisco one. And I was so excited. It was probably during the roughest time of my OCD, really flaring up and being really, really out there with any kind of decent therapy at that time. I was doing talk therapy, I believe, at that time, which was helpful, but it wasn't addressing what I needed to address. But I remember going to the conference, and I was like, looking at everything. Ooh, what's over here? Ooh, the books. Ooh, the classes. On and on. And with the exception of seeing people that looked like me, I was thoroughly impressed and couldn't wait to delve in. And I learned so much at that conference about what OCD actually was and wasn't. And so for me, and that's when, of course, I met Ethan. And I tell Ethan all the time, he literally changed my life because he took the time to talk to me and to address my needs. And we just went on from there. But my 2017 conference will probably always be my favorite because it led me to where I'm at now. Oh. So Ethan is very much one of my heroes. That's why I always call him Mr. Smith.
That was a great conference. That San Francisco conference was something special. That was a highlight for me. That was a conference for me.
Yeah, I did a talk with a panel on relationship OCD. That year, they did something different on Sundays. I don't think they've done it recently, but they did on Sunday. It was all like special topics. And there hadn't really been, because I think our OCD only got coined in like 2014. And so a group of us put together a relationship OCD panel on a Sunday, and we're like, nobody's going to come. We'll like all hang out together. And the room was like full because people were there on Sunday. They really liked like the specific topics. But I remember San Francisco being great. It was all one-way streets, and our Uber driver couldn't get us back to the airport. I missed my flight and stayed an extra day in San Francisco and got a bunch of chowder. But if I knew you back then, Val, we would have hung out.
Yeah, we would have hung out.
We got chowder together.
Yeah.
All the chowder. Awesome.
All the chowder?
What?
All the chowder?
I don't know. It felt like a good response. I'm not sure. It's been a long day. That's why I said I'm having coffee right now, and it's been a long day. But I love seeing in the chat how many folks are connecting, and I see, gosh, Uma, you've changed our lives too, and I just so many people. I hope everybody, Jen, I hope everybody, whether you're coming virtually or in person, you feel seen and valued and appreciated and known. And I guess this is a conference preview, so we can actually talk about what the conference is. So maybe we can open it up a little bit. And Chris, I know you have been going to the conference long before me. I would love to hear from you.
He's the oldest. He's before any of us.
Mm-hmm. So Chris, I would love to hear from you, like conference setup, all of that. What is it all about? What do people have to look forward to? And then we can all kind of chime in with our favorite parts of the conference.
Yeah, I mean, I think of the conference as like a Thursday through Sunday activity. I know it usually they highlight it Friday through Sunday, but I think of it as a Thursday activity. And if you get in Wednesday night, it's a little bit longer. But yeah, I mean, when you arrive on Thursday, there's a lot of stuff Thursday night. There's a lot of really good stuff. Usually there's support groups, there's hangouts, there's a lot of stuff to like meet other people. For clinicians, there's the poster. So all the people like Uma, who's in the chat, that are researchers, like they present their posters. So there's a lot of stuff Thursday night, and you get there, and obviously check in and everything. And then Friday rather, and Saturday and Sunday are full with events. There's a lot of talks. There's lunchtime support groups now. There's always something that you can go. And the good thing about the conference is they have tracks. So if you're a parent of somebody with OCD or a spouse or a sibling, like there's specific tracks for you. And there's always going to be, a few talks that you'll have to decide between that are going to be aimed at somebody going through something similar like you. You can go up and talk to the presenters like Ethan talked about earlier, talking to Dr. Janicki. And there's just an opportunity to meet other people with OCD. There's a lot of kid stuff. So if you have a kid, a teen, or a young adult, there's tracks for that. They get to hang out. Saturday night's like the keynote and a big party. So we all kind of get together in a room, eat, dance, have a good time. Val and her husband are the best dancers. There should be an award. I'm mad we haven't had one yet. We have a keynote this year. Super excited about that. Daniela Pearson was just announced. And then Sunday, there's still some great times, great talks. So stick around halfway Sunday. And then, people that have met each other kind of hang out the rest of Sunday. And then everybody flies back. And then it's like the cool summer camp that I feel so miserable about leaving. So, but I think I'm glad that Amanda put in the chat. I think the only big difference this year, maybe than previous years, besides the lunch support groups, is the virtual option. I will say, if you can swing it, I totally empathize that it's expensive and it's travel and time. There's something about being in person, surrounded by 2,000+ people. You just feel seen, you feel heard, you get to drop like your little things and just be like a whole person. But if you can't make it, it is definitely a great virtual option. And say hi to us if you come.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Chris. I love, Amanda did just drop in the chat for that virtual hybrid piece, which it's so cool that this is the first time we're doing that. And everything that you just described, I'm sitting here getting excited as I hear you talk about Thursday and Friday and Saturday and Sunday. And I know I'm presenting till 1 on Sunday. So I'm like, please don't leave on Sunday. Stick around with us, everybody.
I think I have an 8 a.m. on Sunday, the coveted 8 a.m. Sunday spot with Liz. Liz and I are going to roll out of bed together and walk up there and be like, all right, families. But I'm excited about that talk on Sunday. You'll have to tell us ours. Liz and I are doing a talk on like learned helplessness and just how families, by sort of like providing all the reassurance and accommodations, actually having your loved one with OCD learn that they're not capable of doing big things, great things, and living up to their potential. So I'm excited about that. What's your talk on Sunday?
Sunday is, let's see, what is that one? That is, it's the talk on community and advocacy and compassion. And then Saturday I have scrupulosity, and Friday night we have the first support group for providers who have lost a patient in their life. So lots of kind of neat, important talks. What else are you doing? And we can all kind of go around and.
Yeah, so I'm doing that talk with Liz, with Allegra Castens, Christy Hodges, and Kyle King. We're doing a talk on sex and OCD, and we, those talks have been a different variation, but we've done that talk for the young adult group, and we constantly had adults coming into the talk and like peeking in and sitting down in the back. And so we finally we should just open it up to everybody. But I think it's great because obviously romance, love, intimacy, passion, those are things that every human wants, but those with OCD fear it for a multitude of reasons. So doing that talk, then I'm super excited, as always, on Friday we have the body dysmorphic disorder track. I'm doing a talk with Scott Granite, Catherine Phillips, and Fugan Nezaroglu. We're doing a talk on like very severe cases with BDD for clinicians. And then I'm jumping on and helping with an LGBTQ panel. They didn't have a male member of the LGBT audience or a clinician to jump on, but super excited about those. I know that I think Val and Ethan, you guys have a talk during a lunch. So I'm going to go to your talk during a lunch. So I'm excited to see that. Yeah. So besides my own talks, I'm going to be at y'all's talks. I'm going to be at talks of the people that I like and support and be in the audience. I want to have faces, like those cutout faces of you guys, and be like, go Ethan, go Val, go Katie.
I know.
Well, and I hope as folks are hearing all these talks, I hope you're checking out the full schedule is up online.
That's what I'm doing now to see what talks I'm on.
Oh,
Literally. I was like, you're like, we'll go around. I'm like, oh crap.
Well, Chris, I was trying to think of who was on mine. Chris was way more prepared than I was. I was like, I think this is what they're called. But folks, like I've gotten a lot of emails about this week about when will the schedule be up, and we can drop that in the chat too. The conference schedule is up online, ready to rock. You can search all. Yes, and Amanda just put that in for us. There's a lot of new, I want to go to Ethan and Val to talk about what they're doing, but I also want to highlight, Erica just dropped in the chat, and this is such an exciting thing. This is the first year for the Creative Corner too. This is something brand new this year that's focused on art and creativity for the very first time throughout the entire conference. And that's been a big project, I know, of Erica and a lot of people with the creative SIG. So just that's something that we all absolutely want to support too. Val, do you want to share what well, Val and Ethan, I know y'all were looking up what you're doing, but if I've given you enough time. Yeah.
Oh, I can't remember. I have my stuff on the table. I know I'm doing a Vintage Voices support group with a doctor. I'm not clear.
The doctor.
Dr. Kim Evans.
Names, but I'm really excited about that. That we're going to have a support group. We did have one at the last conference, but I'm ecstatic to have someone with clinical experience lead it with me. So I'm looking forward to that.
Evans.
Thank you, Dr. Evans. I'm looking forward to that. And I'm looking forward, I'm doing a talk entitled A Journey in Our Shoes, a Walk in Our Shoes with Uma, Dr. Darlene, Teresa, and Alex, I believe. And we're going to talk about the importance of diversity and how culturally and ethnically and all of your life experience can affect your journey. So I'm really, really looking forward to that. We did do one last year on the topic, and it was kind of bittersweet. There's definitely a need for it, and our fingers are crossed that this year we have a larger audience. And I'm doing the one, I think, Ethan, that's the one on social.
Yeah, everybody's doing that. I don't know why people like it's Val and mine. I'm pretty sure Liz and Chris and Katie and Tom are on that.
That's so true.
So,
I think we all got bumped, but
No, nobody got bumped. You may not be in the program, but you were definitely not bumped. And yeah, go ahead, Val. Sorry.
Those are the only two that I'm doing, the two talks. I'm looking forward. I've been going online and circling, what other talks I want to go stop by. So that's exciting. But those are the two that I'm on and my support group.
Awesome. Y'all are busy. So I'm on the one with Val, obviously, combining our voices to address OCD misinformation in the media. I just read that. And then it's not that I don't care. We're busy. We're busy. You're busy too. We're all busy. And sorry for being late. I got a curveball thrown at me, so I had to deal with that. So I apologize for my slightly no filter, whatever comes out in the next 30 minutes. Anyway.
That's not different than any other time.
It's the same, yeah. So I'm also doing a panel called
Drip.
No, I'm kidding. Strategies for Sustained Recovery for OCD. So it's about relapse prevention. I'm doing that with some amazing therapists from the Neurobehavioral Institute in South Florida. We'll be talking all things relapse prevention from a clinical and lived experience perspective. 9:45 a.m. on Sunday. I've never had a Sunday panel, so I just discovered it was Sunday. And so, yes, Chris.
I was just going to say, yours is 9:45, mine's 8. What time is yours on Sunday, Katie?
Mine, I just pulled mine up so I can actually read mine out now. It is 11:30 on Sunday.
Oh,
we can all go to everyone.
Mine, half asleep. We'll go to Ethan, slightly more awake, and then we'll have full energy for your Sunday talk, Katie.
Thank you.
Absolutely. I have to be honest. So this year specifically, I submitted the fewest amount of panel submissions, support groups, and said no to mostly everyone. And the reason I did that was for the last 10 years, I've literally just been racing from thing to thing. And my very favorite thing from like 2012 to 2015 or 16 was just talking to all of you in the hallways and like spending time and going to lunch with your families. And I really, really, really missed those one-on-one encounters. And I really felt terrible the last 10 years where you see me racing through the hallway and you're like, hey, Ethan, I'm like, I can't talk. And it's either because I have to speak or I have to pee. It's one of those two things. So, but either way, so I was like, this year, I'm not going to inundate my schedule. I really want to be open to like be stopped in the hallways and just have really meaningful conversation and support everyone and be supported. So if you see me, I'm available. Come talk to me. I'm super excited to have multiple levels of personal encounters at the conference this year, whether it's with you or family or loved ones or friends or therapists and things like that, and get back to sort of the roots of advocacy, which is really what advocacy is, you know, connecting one-on-one or two-on-one or, you know, with people and talking through stories and things that have helped, things that have hurt, and everything in between. So that's where I'll be in the hallways.
Me too. And to kind of add to that, I also purposely only I submitted one for myself. Well, I didn't submit any for myself, come to think of it, other than my support group, but I'm only on 2 panels because I really wanted to focus on being present, like you're saying, Ethan, and doing all the running and getting to know people and being available. I just felt it was important this year compared to, you know, the other years, kind of being more involved. But it was just important for me to be more present and to allow myself to be supportive to other people's projects, because oftentimes, you know, our time is so limited or everything clashes. And so I specifically only accepted 2 offers also.
No, I love, Val, I love what y'all are saying, because I think that's one of the neatest parts of the conference, is to be able to connect with people in between. It was one of the things I was pulling up. I feel like none of us were prepared with our schedules. As I pulled mine up, I got really excited. And it's like, there's only one thing each day, where it's like the rest of the day is just talking to people. So I know for me, I'm looking at, now I actually know the names. I'm doing on Friday, Grieving Together, a support group for providers coping with loss of patients to trauma, and with Dr. Lori Merling, which I'm really, really looking forward to. On Saturday, we're doing Keeping the Faith, How to Ethically and Competently Treat Religious Scrupulosity, with Mubina Mirza, Justin Hughes, Caitlin Claggett Woods, and Emily Bailey. And then the one I couldn't think of the name of that Chris asked me is All Together Now, the Role of Self-Compassion and Community Support in OCD Recovery, with Jesse Birnbaum, Sandy Robinson, Mary Walters, and Jake Winchester. So lots of fun stuff there too. But I think for me, it's really exciting just to connect with people between. And I would love to kind of dive into, I know we have a lot of people who are going to the conference this year for the first time. Oh, and I just saw Jen's comment too. Thank you, Chris, for Jen. We would love to have you with us virtually. And I think there are lots of ways to continue to connect. We so care about you and want you to be a part of it virtually through all of these different events. So please, please, please know that we're going to make every effort to connect with you virtually too. But I'd love to hear from our panelists. For folks who are coming and plugging in for the first time, whether it's virtually or in person, what are some tips and tricks that we might have for them? What about for people who are feeling nervous, for people who are nervous about travel, who are nervous about connecting? What are things maybe that you wish you would have heard at your first conference? And I'll throw that out to the group.
Oh, I know. I struggled. One of the reasons I wasn't going to conference, because I struggled for many years with the fear of flying. But it became, I think the first conference I flew to, I believe, was in Denver. So yeah, this will be my second conference that I'm flying off to. But I really wished at that point, you know, I could have had some reinforcements. But bottom line, I think it just became important enough. I couldn't walk to it, so I didn't have a choice. It was either, you know, get on the plane or stay home. And I do believe having the position as a lead advocate kind of really made me take that responsibility on. But I had to overcome that fear. And just the fear, too, of me going back to 2017, not seeing a lot of people that look like me, not only older people, women, older women, and of course, women of color. That was important for me to make sure I get on that plane. But those were some of the fears that I personally faced the first couple of times I went to the convention. And then I realized I was really threatened over nothing. The color didn't come into play. People were so open and inviting. And I didn't even think about getting back on the plane at all that I remembered. And so I just felt that it was something I owed myself or I allowed myself to do. So.
And you make a difference by showing up and for being, I know for you, but also for others who get to connect with you. And it's a brave, and I'm so glad you shared that because it's a brave step. And I'm sure all of us here have heard from folks over the last couple of weeks about, I want to go, but I'm nervous to go for lots of different reasons. And it sounds like for you, Val, it's been really worth it to take that leap.
Yeah, and you will definitely find somebody you can connect to. And even just, accidentally. I didn't have to go looking for anybody. It was there. I had to just make sure I was there. So.
Yeah, what I was going to say is like when I think back to the first conference, right? I can't even tell you really what triggered me and had me leave a day early, but I can remember the things I did do. Like I said, hearing Liz McInville speak for the first time, like physically being there. I can't even remember the panels. So I do agree with Summer. I think going to panels, especially ours, no, just kidding. I do think going to panels is important and learning is important. Kylie asked a good question. Are there going to be professional companies, organizations? I hear from a lot of people that going to the conference is where they met their therapist. They saw a therapist speak that either treats in their city or their state really connected with them, or they go into the exhibition hall where there's all these different treatment centers around that treat OCD around the globe and are there, and you can talk to the table and find out more information. So a lot of times people also find their clinicians, and I would say do a balance. You're going to remember more so what you did versus not what you did. So you're going to get triggered because you have to touch an elevator button, or there's going to be a big an elevator button.
I thought you were an elephant.
Oh, no. I was saying you're going to get triggered because you have to push an elevator button, or you're going to get triggered because you're going to see a church on the way there and have scrupulous thoughts. Or there might be somebody who's of the same sex and you find them good looking and then feel really triggered. I mean, you're going to be triggered, but you're not going to remember those things 5 years later. You're going to remember, I went, I engaged with people, I met people like me, I felt heard, I felt seen, I felt wanted. And also, just being proud of yourself. Traveling is hard for people with OCD. Staying in a hotel room is hard. So I think just, obviously find that balance. Don't push yourself too much. But, push yourself. You're gonna leave with a lot more gained. I've never heard of somebody going to the conference and saying, I wish I didn't go. I hear all the time, whether it's my clients that go or from people, that the conference was game changing for them and life changing and stuff. And I think it was Summer, you can also volunteer. I don't know about this one. I think it's too soon, but you can volunteer at a conference in the future to save you some money. But it also gives you an opportunity to kind of get engaged and, activated there. So.
Thank you. Go ahead, Ethan.
Oh, I love what everybody said. I think that, I think saying something that nobody else has said, I think that going as your authentic self is the best possible way to go. And I think that if it's your first time, I think you'll discover that I know it feels like everybody will look happy. Probably not, though. There's lots of people crying. But that's true. People are authentic in their own way. And I think that we all have this perception that everybody's, not struggling like we are. And the reality is, in that space, everybody's in a different place in their journey. And you will meet people that are in the same place that you are, or that are experiencing similar thoughts or similar experiences. And I think going without expectation and just expecting to feel a sense of belonging and being willing to experience whatever discomfort you may feel or uncertainty, around what you experience. There's no perfect way to do the conference, right? You don't have to go to every session and then go to you can experience, and that's what's cool about it. You can experience it however you want. You can go to one panel and then you can hang out in the hallway and see who you meet. You can just go to events at night. You can just hang out and do whatever. I mean, people make lifelong friends at these conferences. People meet the first other person with OCD that they've ever met before. They tell their story for the first time at these conferences. There's so many firsts at these. And so, I think it really is a kind of like a make your own experience. How do you want to do it? But the most important thing is to recognize that everybody there, at least from a lived experience perspective, is going through something. And you are not alone in that. You are simply actually surrounding yourself by individuals that know more than anyone on earth how you are feeling and can support you along that. And so, we always like to say, maybe go up to somebody that looks a little worse off than you and say, introduce yourself, say hi. The level, I would say to you, if you've got to feel discomfort in life, would you rather do it with strangers or do it with a bunch of people that get it and understand and want to support and love you? And I think that's pretty cool. And then getting out of your comfort zone to get to the conference, it's totally, totally, totally worth it. And hopefully, for those of you that have been, you can validate that statement. And for those of you that will go for the first time, you will come back and say, you were right, Ethan, it absolutely was. And hopefully you will also think that I'm funny, despite what my wife says. The only other thing I wanted to...
It was long before I really knew you. I just remember you were up there and it was like, oh, a joke thing. And I went and I was like, who is this guy? But then we met like a couple months later and I thought you were a little better than in the talk.
I do love what Summer said about don't feel like you have to go to everything. It can be very overwhelming. A lot of the panels are experiential. So meaning, you may participate, you may be asked to do exposures. You don't have to do anything. But, it's a wonderful opportunity to not just meet other people, but do some work for yourself, right? Especially for individuals that may not have a therapist or access to a therapist. This is sometimes many people's only opportunity to interact with clinicians and support groups and peers and things like that. And you can really lay an incredible foundation for yourself in all that you learn, resources, talk to doctors that you may have seen online on live streams, but not had access to. It really is a phenomenal opportunity. And it's one of the only conferences, mental health conferences that, and Chris may have said that have both, individuals with the disorder, professionals, researchers, doctors, clinicians, and all of the above. So it really is a unique and special opportunity. The last thing I want to say, and I don't mean to talk so much, is that we also recognize, and the IOCDF also recognizes, not only obviously the expense in getting treatment, but the expense in attending the in-person conference, and the travel isn't cheap, especially nowadays, and hotel isn't cheap, especially nowadays. And the hotels are booked, 3-4 years in advance to try to get the best deals. And the IOCDF is constantly working to make everything that they do more accessible, more affordable. As you've seen in the last 3 or 4 years, we've got tons of virtual conferences online, whether it's the Faith and OCD Conference or SPINA Conference or BBB Conference, or even the online virtual conference, which will happen, I think, in October this year. So November. Okay.
November. Oh.
So my point in saying that is, we totally absolutely know that there's still barriers to access not only treatment, but the conference, and we're working diligently to overcome those.
And I want to, Ethan, thank you for mentioning that. And for folks who can't attend this year, thank you. Folks are being so supportive and honest and just kind to each other in the chat. And Jen or anyone else who can't attend in person this year, we're just glad that you're here. We're glad that you're a part of these live streams. And this community is what it is because of all of you. And I think, whenever we think about advocacy or talk about advocacy, I think sometimes we assume it's, being the face of a live stream or doing this or doing that. Y'all are advocating more than I can possibly express by showing up for these lives, supporting one another in the chat. And Jen, you're supporting and saving other lives just by being here and being you and sharing your story. And I also think one of the reasons you're hearing us talk more about the in-person component than the virtual is this year, it's the first time. And that's actually kind of an exciting thing too. And for Jen or Amy or others who have talked about potentially going virtually, I think we kind of have a cool opportunity where you get to be some of the first and you get to be folks that help shape this into community. And I'm actually really excited for us in the future post-conference to get to hear from y'all what it was like and what community was like and how we can continue to make it better. And I just want y'all to know you are a big part of that so that we can have even more of these conversations about the virtual conference.
Yeah, I mean, I always think it's sorry, it's like so fun that you can like reply people in
I know.
the comment. And I was able to like change my profile picture. The old one keeps showing up, and it's like when I was 12.
12.
Yeah. What I was gonna say too is like that's what I love about the virtual component is just it still brings on so much community, whether it's live streams like this, but obviously of the conferences and things. And I would say like on a bigger scale than just the conference. I mean, one thing that's so important, I think when we talk about community, we always talk about the conference because so long there wasn't really a way to connect with people outside of the conference. Like you'd see everybody in the middle of the year and then you wouldn't see anybody again until a year later, and it felt like you only got this one time a year. I mean, that's why all of us are doing these live streams and give our time, is because we know that for a lot of you, we're the only people, and the people that are in the community comments, right? Like all of us are, sometimes these are the only other people we meet with OCD. I work with people with OCD all day, so I can never run away from it. But for a lot of people, we don't. And so just being able to absolutely like connect both through these live streams, through the virtual conferences and stuff. Community is such a big part of recovery. When you think you're alone, when you think the thoughts that you have are only you, when you feel different, there's so much shame, so much stigma, so much sadness in OCD. And I think being part of community is what really helps at least alleviate some of that. You don't feel so alone.
I was literally about to say the exact same thing, Chris, that it used to be just the conference, and now there's so many ways to connect with the community, and it's amazing if you can go. It's a wonderful experience, but we try to create as many wonderful experiences as possible, all year round. And so, that's a fantastic thing.
It's actually, I mean, it's pretty neat. So for folks, as we're talking about the conference tonight, I would also encourage you to go and just check out the full conference website, not for this particular conference, but for all of the conferences throughout the year. And it really is interesting, like with what Chris and Ethan were saying, where there used to just be one, and now you look and yeah, it's like all the way down the list of all of these things that you can attend virtually, even outside of these live streams.
I forgot there's like conferences year round now. You and Val kind of spearheading the Faith and OCD conference. We have the BDD conference. There's the kids camp that's virtual. There's the hoarding conference. There's so many things to do. Yeah. And then you have walks in your community. You have the live streams. The cool thing is like the foundation has totally exploded on ways to connect with other people. And it's amazing, amazing, amazing. And I saw what Isostasia said. The cool thing about our community is it's global. So please, 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 English is not the right language just because that's what we speak. I mean, people with OCD speak every language on the planet. So, don't ever feel like, because you don't, if you feel a little bit uncomfortable with your language, like the live streams, we love everybody here, the conferences and stuff too. We try our hardest to make sure people from all over the globe feel connected.
And further, just to add to that, Isostasia, like people also at the conferences or anywhere else just have trouble speaking in general sometimes, right? With anxiety and insecurity and maybe their OCD impairs them for speaking, fluidly. And there's literally zero judgment at this conference or any other conference. And that's what's so important and so key is you come as you are, you come as yourself, and you are embraced and accepted just as you are. So no problem there.
And I know for myself, even though the conference weren't recorded, afterwards I went back because I was new to everything, the foundation and OCD, all that stuff went with that. I went back and looked at all the old town halls, the videos, the different topics that were available. And that was nice because, you could do it on your free time and they're always there. So that in addition to, if you can't make the conference, you can always catch a live show or a pre-tape show.
Katie, can I ask Chris a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, for those of you going, I'm gonna say 2 words, Chris, and this may be the most important information we give you all night.
I'm nervous. Should I not have let you ask Chris a question?
I'm very nervous.
Sorry, Chris. I should have said no.
Oh, my seat doesn't go as far down as I thought. I was gonna just like.
Ready? Snack hacks.
I meant to bring up his Mary Poppins bag.
Yes. Okay. So here's the thing. I don't eat, or like all I do is I am like pumped on green tea at these conferences. It's how I get through. I have to like write them like a thank you letter, but you don't ever get to eat. Like, because you're running around, you're talking to people, you're getting stopped. So the bags that they give us, here's the secret. What I do is I always come in a day early. I go to the usually I go to like a 7-Eleven, but I can't leave the hotel or I'll melt. So I go down to the what is it called? Like this snack little restaurant place, and I stock up. I get bars, I get chocolate, I get green tea, I get food, and then I put it in my bag. So it looks like I've collected like all this cool OCD merch. It's all snacks. It's all white cheddar. Allegra and I are obsessed with white cheddar Cheez-Its. So it's a bunch of that. I always bring it to the conference. And so that way, when I get like 5 minutes to go to the bathroom, I'm like in the stall going to the bathroom and like chomping on all my food. So that's what you have to do. If you go to the conference, you have to stock up. Stock up for sure.
Chris looks like he's been trick-or-treating for 3 days at the conference.
Or see Chris.
I will say, we love Chris, but I will say I always get a little bit, and I'm generally pretty happy. I get a little cranky when I haven't eaten like all day, and I'm getting with Chris. And Chris is like pulling out like all these snacks, and I'm like,
not only that, Chris has a special bag. Chris pulls out like a roast duck, and then, you know, and then an 18-liter bottle. Like, it's not just little things. He like takes out these totally prepared meals, and I'm like, and he acts like it's no big thing. And then he'll sit there in a panel, and he's like, we're all staring at him like this.
Yeah, because I can't get over him saying he doesn't eat. That's all he does.
No, I mean, I don't get to eat like a real meal, but yeah, that's right. Like when we had the panel together about like the misinformation, we had like 14 seconds before people came in. I'm like under the table eating a souffle, tuna, pretzels, chips.
I remember feeling so hangry about that. I remember.
Well, look, I mean, the cost of food is expensive, but I will sell a kidney and get enough food in my bag for all of you. So when we're sitting there and Ethan's hungry, I'm like throwing him out Chex Mix.
Get up early and eat the breakfast.
It's never happened. It's never happened.
I mean, it's everybody else. They won't see you there, but.
Well, because I actually went to the breakfast when the conference was on the West Coast. Y'all have to remember, breakfast is like 4 a.m. for Californians.
Yeah.
So, and then hotels, it's always like a sliver. It's like you can come from 7 to 7:02 if it's a full moon. So you have such a sliver. But yeah, every time I get there, I go last 2 minutes. Yeah, Val knows what's going on. We have to eat breakfast at 2 in the morning in Florida.
I love this comment, by the way, that Robert Spence just wrote. I staged the bonds of OCD transcend language differences. You'll feel more than welcome, like it's your second home. I love that. Thank you, Robert.
I love that. Yeah, I was actually just going to highlight this, feeling embraced in this community. That's what this is literally all about. And regardless of whether folks are going to the conference or going virtually, whatever that looks like, we're just glad that you're here and that you're a part of it. We also had a question.
Wait, how do you guys have the power of putting stuff up and I don't?
Oh, sorry, I forgot. I'm sorry.
We both had different things where we had to get the behind the scenes power.
Okay, Amanda, I see how it is. I'm like, I was also trying to do one of those what do you call it? Put forward something and it won't let me. So
sorry, Chris.
No, it's all good.
If you tell me to click something, Chris, I'll bring it up for you.
No, it's totally fine.
I'll mute you, Chris.
I do want to ask this. Just love Lana. This was a great question. What's the deadline for signing up for the virtual conference? The registration is not up yet. Well, for the virtual, for the virtual for this one or for the actual virtual. So I would say the virtual for this conference, the online portion of the in-person conference, I think you can register pretty much all the way up until the day. Is that correct, y'all?
I don't know. I'm looking on the website right now.
And while Chris looks that up, the only virtual conference in November, that hasn't come out yet, but the deadline that is coming up is the first week in August for submission. So if people want to submit to present at the virtual conference in November, that is coming up.
It doesn't say on the website like when you have to register by. I do know registration online usually closes like a couple days before, and then people typically register like in person. But maybe Amanda knows, because I'm trying to like fake register to see if it tells me when the last time is, and it doesn't.
She's checking on it.
Yeah.
We also got yelled at for breaking StreamYard rules.
Ooh.
No, she said we're breaking out our tools. Not
Oh, I
rules.
need new glasses.
She was praising you, not yelling at you. Oh gosh.
Val and I are peasants. We don't get the.
Ethan has more tools than I do. I don't have a live stream button.
I have full admin status, so I'm feeling.
If my box starts to float away, I'll know who did it.
I'm now I want to start clicking things, but I'm not going to, so Amanda doesn't kill me. Summer, thank you for sharing that you always come out of these live streams feeling a little better. I know tonight we are kind of all over the place in all of the things, and sometimes that's just what it's about. And we hope that y'all feel seen and connected in community tonight and moving forward. And registration for the hybrid track will remain open through the conference. So we would love for y'all to sign up at any point. But before we close out, we've talked about a whole bunch of different things, conference related and non-conference related tonight, but let's just go around in any closing thoughts, words of hope related to community before we close. No pressure. What?
Can I put on some music for this?
Sure, Ethan, you go first. You can put on music.
No, it had music here. Go ahead.
It sounds like it's like a medieval, like, what do you call it? Like a fair. What are those things called? Renaissance fair.
Okay, I'll give you more your vibe.
Oh, this is definitely not Kendrick.
No, this is Zoom copyright free or StreamYard.
Yeah.
Right, okay, go ahead.
I think the two quick things I want to say is, like, based on Summer's comment, it's like, remember, whether it's coming to these live streams, I always tell this to clients that, will email me the next day after the support group and be like, oh, I didn't come to, because I run support groups. So like, oh, I didn't come to the support group last night because I was really struggling. This is the best place to struggle. Let's struggle together, right? If you're really struggling, whether it's coming to a live stream, if there's a support group near you, if there's a conference, if there's an event, if there's a community event that the IOCDF puts on, et cetera, like, we all get it. So always remember, you don't want to struggle alone. It's so much worse. So always reach out to community. And I tell people, sometimes you may not have community. That's what the IOCDF is for. And then I'd say the second thing is, whether it's this or whether it's something else, community is such a part of healing. And even if that's not necessarily advocacy, because I always think that advocacy is such a great way to heal, just being a part of something. The research is very clear that when people are going through hard times, having some kind of social support is really supportive. So as we always say, we can't do these live streams if nobody showed up. I'd still probably force my mom. Now that my sister's at home with twins, I'd force her as well. But it's always nice when we log in, we see so many people engaging. And I just hope that whether it's the conference or beyond, I hope the IOCDF feels like your home. We're constantly listening to what y'all are saying, and we just want to provide some resources and support. So thanks for being here today.
Thanks, Chris. We love y'all. Ethan, do you have, now that Ethan, I think you know the question now, do you have any thoughts?
I think we said it. Strangely, no, I normally do, but I think that, community is everything. I love community conversations. Oh yeah. This is the wrong music for me.
I don't know. Sorry, that was me. That wasn't Ethan. It was called Feeding the Ducks, and I wanted to know what Feeding the Ducks was. Sorry.
No, that was like a slow jam from the 90s, and you don't want me talking about OCD community with that. But anyway, so no, I think I'm just a broken record when it comes to community. I think that it's everything. I think that we are only as strong as one another, and I don't ever want anyone to feel that, they are too sick or too whatever to participate in a conversation, to get involved, to comment on a thread, to whatever. The reality is, like, this community is truly, and I've recently had visibility to other communities and advocacy groups and other conditions. And this community really is like none other. It really, really is. And the individuals in this community are so special and continue to be, new, old. You know, I've yet to meet someone in this community that hasn't just been an amazing human with a giant heart. So I think that just always feel like you can be authentic, be yourself, feel, you know, hopefully feel safe, feel respected. And I think also the most important thing is, you know, it's a two-way street. So like, never feel like, come to us if you have thoughts, if you have feelings, if you agree with something, if you disagree with something. Like, this is a two-way conversation. This is never us talking to you and telling you what is or isn't. You know, I want to know if you disagree with me. I want to know, not that you would, but I want to know, you know, if you were excited to hear about something or want us to talk about something else. I know this can be a frustrating disorder, and, you know, advocacy can be frustrating, because I know that you know, we want to talk about everything and touch on everybody's specific thing. And you may have watched one thing that we did and not the other thing. And it can feel like we're missing something or not talking about something. And it's so hard to speak to everyone. But, you know, just be your authentic selves. Don't be afraid to get out there. And, you know, we're here. We support one another. I get as much hope and motivation and love from you all that you hopefully get from me. So, you know, community is everything. These are everything. And I look forward to continuing to build community. This is how we change the conversation. So, yeah. Val?
Well, it made me think of a quote from Maya Angelou that says, all of us are somebody's rainbow. And that includes newbies, that includes somebody who might just sit in the audience. You never know, just a gentle smile or hello, or just somebody even seeing you there. You never know what a impact that can mean in somebody's life. I agree with what everyone has said. There's strength in numbers. It's a safe place. But once again, like I say, all of us are somebody's rainbow.
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
Even if we're just sitting there.
Love that. Thank you, Val. I was.
You're my pot of gold.
Oh, thank you.
Love Lana. She's totally right. This is such a special community, and just thank you all so much for being here. I saw folks mention stick with the ick too, and sticking with the ick together. This community is just awesome. I just love you all so much. And I'll say, on, you know, in light of that, I was sitting here getting emotional listening to Val and Ethan and Chris. I'll say today has been it's been a tougher one for me today. Ethan and I are in the midst of a move. There's been a lot of chaos with work stuff going on today, but some of y'all know my mom has been in the midst of her cancer treatment, having heart surgery, and we found out about some additional heart issues today post-surgery. And I was kind of getting onto this live stream like, I don't have the capacity to do anymore today or to talk anymore, and feeling like kind of, oof, just all the things. And I want to say, I know so many of you said that you're walking out feeling connected. I got so much from all of my awesome friends up here and all of my awesome friends in the chat by just you showing up and being here. And on a self-focused note, just thank you all for advocating and just watching the kindness of everyone and receiving that. It has made more of a difference than I can put into words tonight. So y'all, in your advocacy and being here, this community is really special. Just love you all so very much. And on that note, as we finish up tonight, want to make a couple quick announcements. So the IOCDF is a donor-supported nonprofit organization. Please consider making a donation at iocdf.org/donate. Please join us. As we talked about tonight, I think you are probably sick of hearing about it, but we want you to be there. Please join us for the 29th Annual OCD Conference. This is an amazing opportunity for the entire OCD community to come together. You can register at iocdf.org/OCDCon. And of course, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and be sure to follow us on Facebook, on Twitter, and on Instagram. There are lots of other awesome streams coming up. For instance, I believe you're going to be right back here tomorrow, Chris, at 9 your time, right?
Yes, come bright and early, West Coasters at 9 a.m. It's gonna be noon for the East Coast. It's gonna be, wow, that's too much math for Europe. I think it's like 7 or 6 p.m. But yeah, our live stream, usually it's Liz McInville and myself, but Liz is on vacation this week, so she's doing some other things. But I'll be there more with my clinical hat and just basically answering any live OCD-based questions from a clinical lens, and we get pre-submitted questions that I'll ask as well or answer as well. So meet back right here tomorrow at 9 Pacific, noon Eastern.
Awesome. And then tomorrow night at 8 p.m. is the Young Adult Special Interest Group Takeover. So please head over to Instagram for that. And that is always a super, super fun event. And then next Tuesday, we're going to be back here at this exact same time with community conversations with Ethan, which some folks already noted in the chat that, yes, officially Ethan does now run his own streams. So you will, who knows what will happen from music to, I don't even know. So it's very scary. Thank you all so much for being here. And thank you for all of the love and prayers in the chat to you and just this community. We are all here together. We are all here with one another. And we are so excited to see folks at the in-person conference, but also to see you all virtually on all of these upcoming streams at the hybrid conference and beyond. So sending love to all of you and talk soon. Bye.
Bye, everyone. Take care. Take care. Take care. See you soon. See you in the morning or noon.
Ooh, squirrel. There's a squirrel.